Happy Wednesday, everyone. I am Talera, and I just want to take the time to just refresh on what we talked about on Sunday, on what Pastor talked about on Sunday. It did come from 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, and he talked about changing places. So what did you get from that?
I think both of us are very familiar with changing places, with both of us being from Louisiana. My journey here was a bit different from others. It wasn't because of Katrina, because once I say I'm from New Orleans, most people think, oh, you came here because of Katrina.
Right.
Well, that's not the case. I didn't move here to 2012.
Okay.
But I did realize that I did need a change. Somewhere around the end of 2011, my kids were growing and they were getting older. And at that time, I was a police officer.
Okay.
And I realized I was able to see all the stuff that was going on around me. And I knew I wanted my kids to have something different.
Yeah.
Though I loved what I did, I realized I had to step out of myself to make a change for them, to give them the opportunity for change. So we moved here in 2012 and change happened. I didn't know why I wanted to move to that specific city that I live in now. I didn't really know anybody there in that city, but I had siblings around. But God just led me there, and things just opened and blossomed, not only for myself, but for my kids, where they had opportunities that just came and they just explored from there. What about you with your change here?
So my change, moving here, it was a little difficult because I didn't necessarily want to move. I didn't move here because of Katrina either. Like, mine had nothing to do with Katrina. We moved here in 2016. But it was almost like, you know how sometimes you get comfortable in the place you're in? And so while I was comfortable in the place I was in, I was with my parents, you know, always depending on mama and daddy. And then moving out here was that big step for me. You kind of grown now. You got some bills. You got things you have to do. You have, I have a daughter. You know, I had to make sure she was okay. And my biggest takeaway from that was when I noticed I moved here, I separated myself from things I was familiar with, like my parents and my friends. But then I also noticed when you change places and changing people automatically comes along with that. But then when I was noticing when I was changing people, it's like my life just started kind of elevating. It's like, okay, so I'm not chilling with my people in the, you know, back home and stuff. Like, okay, so now I'm home, I'm more focused. And, you know, when you're going through something as deep as moving, not because you necessarily want to, but because you need to, you actually have more time to focus on God. And so I think that was the biggest takeaway from me, is moving here has definitely deepened my relationship with God, because who knows where I would have been if I would have still been in Natchitoches, probably still doing the same old things with my friends. A lot of them really not up to nothing, you know, not doing anything with their lives. But like you say, sometimes you move, you have different opportunities. And moving here was probably one of the best decisions I've made thus far in my adult life. And even finding this church. So I don't know if y'all know, I grew up Southern Baptist. I mean, patting feet, clapping hands, you know, you don't necessarily need musicians. If we had a musician, it'd probably just be the drums or the little old lady on the piano, and all we sang was hymns. And then now it's just like, okay, so now I'm Methodist. So what does that mean? So now I'm finding more, and I'm learning more here. This has probably been the most I've learned since I was a teenager, and I'm in my 30s now. Was there anything else that resonated with you from the sermon?
Yes, I took something from what you said. Even with coming here, when you back home, you're used to doing the same thing. And when I moved here, I realized my mind started shifting, because I had time to spend more time with God.
Yep.
I had time to do more here in relationship with God than I did back home, because I was just in this constant going.
Right.
But now I find that I have time to step back and be peaceful, even in the midst of this pandemic.
Yes.
I feel that my mind has changed even more because I've had time to slow down
Yeah.
and just stop and really think about me and do some self-evaluating. And that has helped me to also, elevate in him. And something Pastor said also is about being kept.
Yeah.
I look at, how some people say, I'm a kept woman. Well, I look at kept in a different way now.
Right.
I'm kept by his grace.
Yeah.
I'm kept by his mercy.
Yeah.
I'm kept by his love. And that word kept now is going to be so exciting every time I
Yes.
hear it. I'm like, I'm kept.
Right.
That's a real kept right
Yeah.
there. So I'm excited. That made me excited. I just wanted to jump up in this church and he
Yeah.
said kept. I'm like, oh, I'm really kept. I'm the
Right.
real kept. So that is going to stick with me. I am so excited about my journey and just this whole change thing that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks has really awakened me.
Yeah.
And I know that now that I have to make changes in myself even still. I'm in my 40s, but I still have a lot to do and a lot of growing to do and a lot of changes that I need to make in me. What about you?
So another thing I took was spaces. So he talked about changing spaces. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're changing from from one location to another location. That may mean that you just have to rearrange some things that are going on in your life, or even he gave the example of rearranging things in your house. Like sometimes you'll rearrange something in your house and like, oh, I forgot I had that, So just like in your life. So now I'm here on the media team at church, and he's rearranging that in my life because I've been in media pretty much since I've been able to really work. I've been in media for a while now, and now Pastor's kind of pushed me. So now he's opening up something else. It's like he's rearranging the space that I have. It's just broadened. Sometimes you're so closed off and you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But it's like, and like you said, the renewing of your mind, like my mindset has now changed to where it's like, okay, so I'm going to do this and I'm going to try to do this with the best of my abilities, So it's like, it's just opening me up a little more than what I once was. And I don't know if you've noticed just from me being here for 3 years now, I was closed off and now I'm like, hey.
And even for me, I'm generally a quiet person, and especially with people I don't know. But I started making Pastor, he's a pusher.
Yes.
He push.
Yes.
So he pushed us outside of ourselves and outside of our comfort zone. So I started doing Toastmasters to help me be confident in my speaking. So I wouldn't be sitting up in front of this camera right now if it weren't for him pushing me and me realizing I need to elevate myself. And so I started doing stuff outside of church to help me with those things, such as Toastmasters. So I would not, because I know I have something in me and I have something to say. God has put something in me to say, so I need to be able to say it without fear. So I appreciate the push that he gives all of us.
Yes. We talk about him pushing us so bad, but it's really a good thing to get outside of your box.
Yes.
Is there anything else you have?
No, but I do know this. You should have a great week, and always remember to experience grace.
And then one more thing. Before we do that, I have a couple of announcements that I do want to remind you about. So we are doing the Returning to Wholeness. It's a book study, and it's going to take 6 weeks. Pastor's going to do this for 6 weeks, and it will start on Monday, January 25th at 7 p.m. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can go to our church website. It's graceumcarlington.org. It will be via Zoom, and you can request the link there. And then next month is February, which means it is Black History Month. Woo! And Pastor is also going to do a 4-week book study and discussion on the civil rights movement during the 1960s. And this will be it will be via Zoom. And you can go to the church website, graceumcarlington.com. And so you can have the rest of your week, please have a very good rest of your week. And remember